So I'm just going to go through how to solve this question. Now, the first part is obviously to draw the graph and then to answer the questions about asymptotes, domain, range, and solve this inequality with the function. So the first thing we need to do is basically draw the graph. So go to On, New Document, Graphs, and let's start typing in the function. So we have x plus 2 close brackets divided by x squared plus 7x plus 12. Enter. Now the question already gives us the axes label, so we need to change our window to suit that one. So if we go to Menu, Window, Window Settings, and let's change it to what the question is saying. So it's telling us to go from minus 12 to 12, and for the y-axis is going from minus 6 to 10. So minus 6 to 10. There we go. Let's enter it, see what it looks like. So we can move this in a better position. Let's put it over here actually. So first thing to do now is to draw the graph. Make sure you're accurate with it. Make sure that where there's a break in the graph, make sure you're consistent with it. Now, next part says what are the equations of the asymptotes? So there's 3 marks for it, so there's obviously going to be 3 different equations that you're going to need to come up with. Now just looking at them, it looks like there's going to be 2 vertical ones, one here and one here, and a horizontal one across here. So how do you get these vertical asymptotes? Best way to probably do it is to open up a table, so menu and then table, split screen table. Now this is going to show you all of the x values with the corresponding y values. So when x is 1, then y is obviously 0.15, which is going to be around there. Now you can scroll up and down this, and the things that should be jumping out at you are these 2 here. When x is going to be minus 4, then it's given as an undefined for the y value. So when x is minus 4 over here, it's not actually giving us a y value. It's going towards it, but it's not actually going to give us one. It's the same on both sides, up here and down here. So there's an asymptote in between, where the graph's going towards it, but not actually going to touch it. So these 2 are the vertical asymptotes. When x is equal to minus 4, and when x is equal to minus 3. Because if you think about your function, if you were to put minus 4 into your function, then you've got, up here, you've got minus 4 squared, which is going to give you 16, plus 7 times by minus 4, which is minus 28. And then you've got the next part, which is the plus 12. So your total on the bottom is going to be 0. So you're trying to divide by 0, which you can't do. Now some of you might be able to factorize this denominator, and then if you put it equal to 0 you can solve it, and that'll give you the 2 values of x. But these will be the same as these 2 here, when x is minus 4 and when x is minus 3. So there's the 2 vertical ones. For the y one, then what we need to do is see what happens as x is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So in other words, you're coming along this axis here, continuing that way. When x is getting bigger and bigger, what is the y value going towards? Well, it's going towards 0, but it's not actually going to get to it. So you can keep going and going and going, but you won't actually get to 0. So this is the 3rd asymptote when y is equal to 0. And that's all we need to do, just check it using a table. So, we'll get rid of the table, menu, table, and remove table. We've got the original screen. So what is the domain and range of this function? Well, we've already said there's a couple of breaks in this graph. You wouldn't be able to draw this without taking your pencil off the paper. So if you did it, you'd draw along here, come down, then you'd have to take your pencil off the paper and then put it back on to draw this part. And then you'd have to take it off again, and then you go onto this part. Continue on. So you've got three separate parts to it. So what does that mean in terms of x? Well, you'd be able to, for the x, you'd be able to go all the way up to -4. So that's one section of it. So we've got x is less than -4. That's one part. The next part is this one here, where you've got between -4 and -3. So this is the second part. So x is going to be between -4 and -3. And then you have to take your pencil off the paper. And then you've got when x is greater than -3. Okay? So basically it's everything, it's all of the x values except for when you've got x is equal to -4 and x is equal to -3. Now the third part, it says use your graph to solve when the function is less than 4. So we need to see when the function is going to be less than 4. So let's put another graph on there and see where 4 is on the graph. So where is this function here less than 4, which is the blue line? So what it's asking is, for what values of x can you put into here so that the answer that comes out is less than 4? Well, basically that's all of the x values from -4 downwards, because they produce this part of the graph, this bottom part here, and when x is greater than -3, because that's all of this part here as well. The only part that you can't put in is when you've got this part up here, and that's when you've got between -4 and -3. Okay, so your answer should be when x is less than -4 and when x is greater than -3. Okay, thanks for that.